Where to begin? The last 2 weeks I have spent doing a lot of research on moonlighting. And the best way of doing research is by talking to other people. And the moment I get into discussion with anyone about moonlighting, the first thing I notice is there's a grin that is coming on everyone's face. I don't know whether it's an evil laugh, I don't know if it's an evil smile, but everyone is just smiling the moment they hear the word moonlighting. So what is it about moonlighting that has become such a burning topic in today's time? And how long do you think this conversation will last? Anyone from the panel can take this question.
All right. Before I get started, a little bit of context to what I'm about to say. I've been an entrepreneur for about 12 years now. I started as a student when I was in college. I'm a biotech engineer by degree. That's got nothing to do with my career or profession that I'm into right now. So I'm going to say two things that are going to be contradicting with each other. And that's why the evil grin. The first one is, it takes a life and a lifetime to make a name for yourself for that one thing, right? Second thing is, life is too short and the world is too big for all the opportunities that we have to spend all your life doing one thing, right? So it's going to take a lot of experimentation. It's going to take a lot of trials and a lot of errors for you to figure out what you want to be doing. And without you moonlighting, I am not sure how you're going to stumble upon, how you're going to land onto your big thing that you want to spend the rest of your life doing. So, and this cannot happen in a series manner, right? A lot of times it has to happen parallelly, and once you figured out how you do it, you probably can move on to the series level kind of a thing. And I always say this at my incubator: when you're aged 20 to 25, you should not be working on multiple things at once. You should pick a couple of things, focus on them 100%, get to a conclusion. If it's working, it's not working. Is it something that you enjoy doing? Is that something that you want to master yourself in? So on and so forth. If the answer is yes, great, you got what you want to do. If not, you shut that down, you pick something else up, you give 100% to that, and so on and on, right? So before you turn 25, you need to have that clarity of thought on what you want to spend the rest of your life doing and making a name for yourself, building your career on that, on top of it. A lot of times this cannot happen afterwards, right? A lot of times, let's say you are still in college and you want to, and college, I say, are natural incubators, right? That is the natural place where you are supposed to be experimenting with all kinds of ideas in the world. It doesn't necessarily mean if you're an electronics engineer, you should only work on electronics, right? You could be working on design. You could be working on software. You could be working on anything, wherever, whatever your heart wants you to do. Your degrees have got nothing to do with your abilities and capabilities to do something, right? You can be a restaurateur. Knowing how to code cannot stop you from running a restaurant, right? If that's your passion. So there are times when you will have to figure out ways to do multiple things at once, provided they are complementing with each other, provided you know and figure out a way to do it. If you're not doing that, then good luck to you, because we do not know how much time we are left with in this world, right? And I pray and wish you get all the time for you to figure out what do you want the world to remember you for after you're gone. So yeah, that's my take.
That is quite interesting when you put it that way, Meraj. But the thing is, the question the company is having is not on my time, right? I mean, you're talking about an age gap from 20 to 25. But then we're talking about professionals doing a job which is similar in nature to their primary job. And I think Kaleem sir should be able to help me here, because he's worked in the HR department for a very long time. So, and I think he has a different perspective altogether to put here.
Well, excuse me, can I just interject if you don't mind?
What is that?
To the moderator here. I think some of the people in the audience might not know what is moonlighting. If you can explain.
मैं वही बात करने जा रहा था. ठीक है, मैं हिंदी में बात करना पसंद करूंगा. पहले ये जान लेंगे कि मूनलाइटिंग है क्या. मूनलाइटिंग दैट मीन्स आप एक काम करते हुए, जब आपका फ्री टाइम हो, जब आप फारिग हो, आप दूसरी जॉब कर सकते हैं. ये मूनलाइटिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट है. ये विदेशों में काफ़ी प्रोत्साहित है. काफ़ी सारे लोग करते हैं। अभी लेटेस्ट में इंडिया में ट्रेंड आया है इस चीज़ का, मूनलाइटिंग का, जो काफ़ी सारे लोग उससे एग्री भी करते हैं, मगर मैं उससे डिसएग्री करता हूँ। क्योंकि दुनिया में जो सबसे अच्छी ज़िंदगी जो जी रहे हैं वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज, नॉट वेस्टर्न, व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट यूरोप, ठीक है, वहाँ पे 4 दिन काम करने का चलन उठा है, ठीक है। तो उनका कहना है भैया एक काम तो ठीक कर लो, फिर दूसरे काम देखते हैं, ठीक है। एक काम में ही इतने मुलव्विस हो जाओगे, इतने उलझ जाओगे कि तुम्हारी हेल्थ गई, तुम्हारी रिलेशनशिप गई, ठीक है, तुम्हारी स्पिरिचुअलिटी गई, ठीक है, और बचा क्या, सिर्फ बैंक में पैसे। अगर ये ही लेके जिंदगी जीना है तो फिर ऐसी जिंदगी से मैं तो कहूंगा कि भैया नहीं जीना है। तो मून लाइटिंग इन शॉर्ट, मैं इससे डिसएग्री करता हूं, ये अच्छी चीज नहीं है। जिस बंदे को चाहिए फ्री टाइम में कुछ दूसरा काम कर सकते हैं। अगर बहुत ही ज्यादा फ्री है, पीएसएफ ज्वाइन करिए, यहाँ पे बहुत सारे वर्टिकल्स है जहाँ पे आपकी जरूरत महसूस होगी। कम्युनिटी को, पीपल को सर्व कीजिए। अपना नाम इससे भी लगा सकते हैं कि जब आप किसी और को जो है ना एक मेंटर बनोगे, वो जितना काम करेगा आपका नाम लेता जाएगा। तो कॉर्पोरेट्स में शायद आपका नोटिस बोर्ड पे नाम नहीं आएगा, बट यहाँ पे दिलों पे लोगों के छाप जाएगा कि भैया उसने मुझे ट्रेन किया था, इसलिए आज मैं यहाँ पे हूँ। कुछ पैसे कम कमाओगे मगर दिल जरूर जीतोगे। तो ये मून लाइटिंग के बारे में मैं जो है ना बिल्कुल इससे डिसएग्री करता हूँ।
नहीं तो राहुल भाई, तो लेट मी नाउ डाइवर्ट टू यू। तो यहाँ पर अब 2 बातें हो गई अभी तक। Now one is where Meraj says that, but Meraj is coming more from a point of hybrid entrepreneurship. And I think when you start speaking, I think if you can talk about hybrid entrepreneurship before you put your thoughts to it, if you can just explain to the audience what hybrid entrepreneurship is. And then we have come to Kaleem bhai, Kaleem sir, who is saying that, moonlighting is not something that is advisable. You are someone who's done both or more or less hybrid entrepreneurship as well as moonlighting. So what is your take? Before that, just if you can go ahead with what hybrid entrepreneurship is.
Okay, just to put the context of what is hybrid entrepreneurship, it's a field of work where you are engaging in building the world of entrepreneurship or the world of business for yourself while you are having a full-time job. Because I'm right in between both of these. I'll talk of the journey that I've had. I was a student back in 2005 when I began my work as a professional speaker. That was while I was studying. साथ में चालू हो गया. By 2008, I landed a corporate job. So that took up my major space. So alongside that, I have a family jewelry business, which has been into the legacy for the jewelry for 30 years by 2010. And there was a pressure to come back into the business. आप में से जिनमें भी family में business हो रहा होगा, job क्या है, कितना कमा लोगे, वो type का environment होता है. So by 2010, while I was working in the corporate world, because there were 2 years spent in the corporate world, I started to engage in our family business over the weekends. And as time progressed by 2013, I quit the corporate world and jumped into the world of our family railways. And as time progressed, because speaking, the professional speaking thing, which I'm much more passionate about, as I settled down in my business, from 2018, I changed the track to focusing more on my professional journey while set up the business so that it runs in automation. Now here I want you to understand the idea of hybrid entrepreneurship is not having 2 jobs at the same time. The idea is to build one thing, build one child, so that while you're focusing on building one thing, you're completely focused. Once that moves into the saturation, you move and start building something which you are passionate about. It could be exploring passion. A lot of people among us are not happy in our jobs. Doesn't mean we have to stick to them. But doesn't also mean that you have no hope at all of doing anything. The only thing which I would talk about moonlighting here in between this is the law, the legality. हम अक्सर शादी करते हैं तो कबूल है, कबूल है, कबूल है, या फिर 7 फेरे ले लेते हैं, I do, whatever be the language. किसी ने जिस चीज की भी शादी हुई है, किसी ने पूछा है वो क्या, उसके पहले क्या बोला था जिसके आपने कबूल किया? हाँ या ना? Read the terms and conditions. If there is a conflict of interest between what you're going to do as a job and what you want to build as a parallel thing for yourself, that is where the rule is clear. It's a no-brainer. Today, if Wipro has fired 300 people or some other companies because it's a trending topic, It's because it's a contractual agreement between you and your primary job, where you cannot sideline or make it something different from what has been agreed to. Beyond that, I'm inclined more towards this side because I have built my own entire career based on this line of finding and exploring and doing a lot of things which have helped me scale up, but not all things at the same time. Please note, not all things at the same time. I've seen the scaling up, and then as it matured, I started to seed something else. I've seen this scaling up, then started to seed something else, not all at one point in time. I hope that answers the mid space.
Yes. No, so,
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
yeah, okay. Before the question, please just raise your hand. Let me know that the question's coming so that I can then
I
ask you to
did
take a
raise
question.
my hand.
Please go ahead. But if you can just give me 2 minutes, because I want to direct a
Okay.
question to Munawar Khan Saab also here. So we have had 3 distinct, because Meraj, I believe is not complete. He's saying that you have to build something else. You should try new things. Mr. Kaleem is of the idea that no, focus on one thing and you spend the rest of your time building PSF. And Rahul Saab, you are more of the idea that yes, hybrid entrepreneurship, but scale it and then get into something else. But Munawar Saab, because he's coming from a corporate background, he is from OPPO India, and because the conflict of interest is the main aspect here. But then right now, जिस तरीके के layoffs हो रहे हैं United States में, the kind of job securities we don't have anymore, and because after the entire pandemic, people are having more time at their hands. So what employees are doing is they are finding this time to make some more money. So why is it that then most of the corporates, established corporates, are not for this idea, and it is a grey area now?
Thank you very much. And I will appreciate the context you have set before this panel discussion. So definitely the topic today, we don't want to close this topic here, but we want to take it ahead. So we should discuss, we should debate, but we should not be in a dilemma. So here I would say, like, definitely there are clauses, there are legalities. Shall we trapped into that, or shall we find the way ahead? So basically this gathering is very dynamic gathering, and I believe there are certain commonalities. We want to grow, we want to see our career path, and we have something in our mind that can be objective oriented. That objective can be anything. So let me put some terminologies or the analogy over here. I am subscribed to the Mr. Rahul's view. Of course, the hybrid entrepreneurship. I will come to the corporate kind of thing as well, but I believe we should not get trapped into that, because we are already in a big trap, which is 9 to 6 trap, right? So we should come out of that. So I will take the model from Rahul. I will put the context over here in this stage. Okay? We are talking about moonlight, right? So there are lights. This key light is coming at the temperature is high temperature, or maybe 45 degree Kelvin. There's a moonlight in this stage itself. And in the backdrop, I believe there are small light just glowing like a star, which Rahul mentioned. The hybrid entrepreneurship is like, okay, you need to create something child kind of thing, but you are in a limelight. This light is very, very important. You cannot compromise with the light, okay? But the difference between the moonlight and this light is that this moonlight cannot achieve the temperature of that light. But the backdrop light, definitely there is some similarity between those lights. So taking this analogy, like Rahul also mentioned that, why we want to waste the thing, already I told. So moonlighting is like, we are already in a one trap if we believe, because this is a very special gathering. So I'm not talking about the masses. You are here because you believe in networking, you believe you have something, and especially the moonlighting and hybrid entrepreneurship is mostly applicable to the performers, the people who have some stuff to deliver or to share or to contribute. That's why the person who cannot perform into this bright sunlight, that person cannot also perform in a moonlight or hybrid kind of entrepreneurship environment. So here I believe that the analogy is that you develop a small thing, right, Rahul? And then when the brightness of those small things will come into the picture, you can diffuse more and you can dim or you can shut down this light. So this is the relation we should develop, and we are not compromising with this light, this key light. This is a field light. So instead of journey from field light to moonlight to the hybrid entrepreneurship, I should urge you to connect your sunshine or sunlight or the daylight to the hybrid entrepreneurship. So because we all believe doing moonlight means we are making our trap bigger and bigger. From 9 to 6, we are going 9 to midnight. Why? And especially employment is what? I think Mr. Meraj also can comment on that. Our employment or employability is that we trade with the time, right? We trade with the time, and we are extending that trading of time to midnight as well. So I believe that we should not go into that trap, but we should light up this backdrop thing, because that light can compete with that. And the hybrid entrepreneurship, you can comment again, it's a conceptual or terminology level, it's a new thing, but practice is very old. Whether it's Apple, I am referring to Wozniak, whether it's eBay or even Ford, all are part of those hybrid entrepreneurship. And coming back to the corporate, definitely there is a game of clauses, contracts, clashes of interest. Definitely being an honest professional, you cannot compromise with this thing as well. Because if you are on some journey, if you are on a way to achieve something, you need to be very straightforward as well as honest. So whatever the contract, for example, I will give my own example. So my appointment with the Woxsen University is under UGC. So what I did, so I took that appointment, shared with the senior leadership, especially headquartered in Shenzhen, and I told, see, there's no conflict of interest. This is my passion, to teach to the people, to the students, and I'm doing since long. Now I want to take this official position. So in fact, they are happy. So they told, okay, go ahead. It's a kind of one more branding for us, you go ahead. So that kind of a middle way or the way out, we can sort it, but do not get trapped into those clauses, because we are not the policymaker. We are not closing anything over here with the moonlight or how you are conflicting with the corporate kind of laws, clause or the directives. So again, I'm focusing back to the hybrid entrepreneurship. There are many ways. And if I tell you in a very in a nutshell, I will tell you no HR or a no HR policy will not stop you to help to your friend, your wife, your family member. So if there are clauses, there are other clauses as well. But how to deal with that? So there are bigger objectives, I would say. So corporate may not be in between your higher objectives and what you are doing. Only provided that you are not trading the time, but you are coming out of the trap and doing something which is aligned with your own objective, I believe.
I think which Kaleem, Mr. Kaleem also had the same idea, that don't get into this trap of 9 to 12. I mean, you do a 9 to 6, so the idea is don't spend as much time to make more money, but don't get into that trap of 9 to 12. Instead, do something else, build something else, do something smaller.
Right, absolutely true. Okay, absolutely true. मैं चाहे हाइब्रिड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप क्या होता है मैं वो भी बताता हूँ कि एक सब्जी वाला है, वो अभी किराना शॉप भी खोला है, फिर उसके साथ में वो दूध भी बेचता है, सुबह न्यूज़पेपर भी डालता है और शाम को जो है ना तरकारी भी डिलीवर करता है। एक आम भाषा में अगर आप आम उसमें समझे तो ठीक उसी तरीके से एक एंटरप्रेन्योर काफी सारी चीजें खोल सकता है। बट अभी यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम हमको ये जो समझना है, एचआर की तरफ से पहले बात करता हूँ, फिर मैं एक लाइफ कोच हूँ तो मैं लाइफ और साइकोलॉजी की तरफ से भी बात करता हूँ। सबसे पहले ये देख लें आप कि HR की टर्मिनोलॉजी में मे बी HR और a company may not bind you with any law. Okay, maybe there is always an option. आप skip हो सकते हो. There is always a chance. But where does the integrity goes? हमें और पढ़ा जो अनपढ़ है उनमें चीज क्या है जो डिफरेंशिएट करती है, जो पढ़ाई हमको देती है, वो 3 चीजें है, कॉन्फिडेंस, कैरेक्टर एंड क्रिएटिविटी. ठीक है, तो आपका कैरेक्टर कहाँ गया? ठीक है, आप इंटीग्रिटी में अगर आप एक जगह जॉब कर रहे हो फिर दूसरी जगह जॉब करके फिर क्या आप दूसरे दिन वापस ही उतना ही फोकस दे सकते हो? कैन यू एबल टू गिव? There was someone who was talking about 5 a.m. club this morning. He did one day and then next day he went back to the biological same sleeping phenomena because that is how our body is. वो मैं दुबई में काम कर रहा था, वहाँ पे मेरा जो CEO था he was Iranian, वो UN में काम करके आया था और जो हमारा प्रोजेक्ट इंजीनियर था हमने उसको इंडिया से हायर किया था. वो ईरानी जो है with all due respect he always used to come and is this done? Is it done? बोल के ऐसे नाचता था. तो वो उसने इंडियन को एक बार उसको फिर गई, उसने कहा कि देखो साहब एक बात बोलता हूं मैं, बात सुनो. ठीक है, अगर एक हजाम, एक बार्बर अगर एक आदमी की कटिंग 10 मिनट में कर सकता है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि तुम 10 हजाम लाओ और उसको एक आदमी का 1 मिनट में कटिंग करो. यू अंडरस्टैंड? जिस काम को जितना टाइम लगना है उस काम को उतना ही टाइम लगेगा. तो आपकी बॉडी जितनी आपको रेस्ट चाहिए उतनी चाहिए. आपके घर वालों को जितना आपको टाइम देना है उतना देना ही देना है. ठीक है, फिर उसके बाद अगर आपको टाइम बचा, ठीक है, तो फिर स्पिरिचुअलिटी है, फिर फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग है. ठीक है, फिर आपके जो है ना मेंटल स्टेटस है. आप यही भाग दौड़ में लग जाओगे तो यू विल बी लैकिंग बिहाइंड. तो ये मैं एक बात बता रहा हूं कि इंटीग्रिटी लेवल पे यू विल कॉम्प्रोमाइज एंड यू विल नॉट गिव द प्रोडक्टिविटी. एक छोटी बात मैं बताता हूं, खासतौर से हमारी बहनों को बहुत अच्छी समझ में आएगी. उनके यहां जो काम करती है ना उसका नंबर बाजुक वाली को नहीं देंगे. सही है गलत है? अरे उनके यहां गई तो मेरे पास देर से आएगी या मेरे पास थक कर आएगी और काम ठीक नहीं करेगी. यानी ग्रास रूट लेवल पे ये बात है. ठीक है, तो फिर ऊपर की तो बात छोड़ दो. अब रही बात दूसरी हाइब्रिड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की. ठीक है,
गलत बात है सर ये.
आई वॉन्ट टू स्पीक माई हार्ट आउट, इसीलिए हिंदी में बोल रहा हूं.
मुझे इजाजत हो तो सवाल पूछ लूं?
हाँ जी पूछ लिए भैया,
आपके पास आ रहा था मैं.
जी 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 फरमाइए.
तो हमारे पास इस देश में आम आदमी की जो हालत है, मैं आपका कॉन्टेक्स्ट ठीक कर दूं सर. जो मून लाइटिंग कर रहे हैं कोई शौक से नहीं कर रहे हैं
जी.
आप उनका पे पैकेज देखो
जी.
आईटी कंपनी में कितना है, किसी भी कंपनी में. वो तो अभी ट्रेंड ऐसा है कि मैं क्वेश्चन भी पूछूंगा सर, सॉरी मैं लेक्चर नहीं दे रहा हूँ.
नहीं आप दे सकते जी.
जो हमारी अभी फाइनेंशियल नीड्स है उस हिसाब से एम्प्लॉयर हमें पे नहीं करता
जी.
इसीलिए लोग ये काम करते हैं. यस, मिस्टर राहुल ने कहा कि ये लीगैलिटी है उसका ख्याल रखना चाहिए, और जो लोग फायर हुए हैं और हो रहे हैं इसका ख्याल नहीं रख के हो रहे हैं. लेकिन मैं ये समझता हूं कि जब हमारा प्रधानमंत्री, हमारे नेता, हमारे सारे एमएलए, एमपी 10-10 बिजनेस ओनर्स हैं और उनके लॉ में ये है कि मैन ऑफ ए पर्सन ऑफ ऑफिस कैन नॉट होल्ड ए प्रॉफिट ऑफ ऑफिस. तो वो तो जब ये अपने हर तरह के डिफरेंट सोर्सेज ऑफ इनकम जनरेट कर रहे हैं, आम आदमी थोड़ा करता है सिर्फ 8 घंटे के लिए, तो उसको वो भी उससे छीन लेता है.
ठीक है, मैं इसका जवाब तुरंत देता हूं. सबसे पहले आपने कहा कि जो लोग 2 जॉब्स कर रहे हैं दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ देयर फाइनेंशियल कंडीशंस. आप एक बुक पढ़ना जिसका उन्वान है द वन थिंग. क्या है? द वन थिंग. यानी एक काम को इतनी परफेक्ट तरीके से कर लो कि आपको दूसरे काम की जरूरत ही ना पड़े. काहे जा रहे हो, ये काम छोड़ा फिर वो काम पकड़ा, फिर मैं वो भी हूं फिर मैं ये भी हूं, तो मुश्किल होगी. सो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड कि एक काम करो और परफेक्टली करो. ताकि जो है ना दूसरे काम की जरूरत ना पड़े। पहली चीज ये, जब एक काम में आप प्रोफेशनसी हासिल करोगे तो सीनियर बनोगे और पैसे ज्यादा मिलेंगे, उसको पैसों का चिंता कोई करने की बात ही नहीं है। अच्छा, अब दूसरी जो आपने बात कही, भैया नेता की मिसाल यहाँ पे काहे भाई, we are professionals, so there is a way long difference. कभी भी कंपेयर करना है ना तो कंपेयर an apple with an apple, do not compare an apple with an orange, you will always find in difficulty. ठीक है, तो उनकी कंपैरिजन हमारे सामने बात मत करो, हम उनके बारे में बात नहीं करना चाह रहे।
Rahul, I think you want to add something.
Okay. आपके पॉइंट और बहुत सारे इंस्टेंसेस आए हैं जहाँ पे हम टाइम की बात कर रहे हैं, एंड स्पेशली द आंसर हियर इज हाइब्रिड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। हम जैसे एग्जांपल बात कर रहे थे कि टाइम को ट्रेड करते हैं। आप में से कितनों के बच्चे हैं? आपको एक सवाल पूछूंगा, जब टाइम ट्रेडिंग होती है और परफॉर्मेंस की बात आती है, अगर कोई आपके स्कूल जाने वाले बच्चों के स्कूल बस का ड्राइवर है, मून लाइटिंग करते हैं, रात को उबर में जॉब कर रहे हैं, आप कितने कॉन्फिडेंटली आपके बच्चों को उस बस में बिठा पाएंगे? द आइडिया इज when you are trading time, it has definitely an impact on your performance. Again, I agree with him with regard to the performance. तो जब नाई की बात कर रहे थे, मैं अगर नाई हूं और 10 मिनट में एक छटाई कर सकता हूं, तो टारगेट मेरा ये होना चाहिए कि मैं कुछ अगर सॉफ्टवेयर बना रहा हूं या फिर कुछ आइडिया बिल्ड कर रहा हूं जिसमें 1 मिनट में हो सकता है, प्रोडक्टिविटी इंप्रूव करना मेरा टारगेट है। दैट इज हाइब्रिड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। दैट इज आई एम इन्वेस्टिंग ऑन एन आइडिया, ऑन माई सेल्फ टू बिल्ड अ प्रोडक्ट विच विल डू इट इन 1 मिनट। आई कांट गेट 10 पीपल। टाइम ट्रेडिंग से नहीं होगा। सोल्यूशन जो हम किस तरीके का प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं या क्या हम में क्या काबिलियत इंप्रूव करते हैं, कि अगर आज की तारीख में वो 10 मिनट की छटाई के लिए अगर आप 100 रुपए दे रहे हो, वही छटाई के लिए कहीं और ब्रांडेड शॉप में जाके 5000 रुपए दे रहे हैं। आप अपनी काबिलियत बढ़ाइए, जिससे आपका आंसर है 5000 आपको मिलेंगे, ना कि आप वही चीज जो करते हुए हैं 10 रुपए 100 रुपए अर्न कर रहे हो, टारगेट उसका स्ट्रेच हो। My entire premise of moonlighting is on this idea that you have to invest on yourself through this process. For the last 15 years, my life story has been, my professional career has been morning 10 to 7, whatever, job, business, जो भी है, night 10 to 12 investing on myself. Today if I'm invited here, if I'm speaking here, it's because of that 10 to 12 and not because of 10 to 7. So that's the difference where you got to invest yourself. Don't trade time. Use moonlighting or the idea of hybrid internship with the purpose of not earning. Earning जरूरी है, ना नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. Earning जरूरी है. But during this process, upskill yourself. Learn to become better, add value. Trade time, entrepreneurship, trade value. Learn to focus on that and you'll find the answer to every problem in your life. Short term में जरूरत पड़ सकती है पैसे की, जरूरत पड़ सकती है कि काम करना भी पड़े. लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म में डू वॉट एवर यूर डूइंग एंड इन्वेस्ट ऑन योर सेल्फ सो दैट यू फाइंड द आंसर टू द लॉन्ग टर्म सोल्यूशन। टाइम आज इतना ही है, 10 साल भी बाद भी उतना ही होगा, वैल्यू नहीं बढ़ेगी, देयर इज नो प्रोग्रेस। हाइब्रिड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप इज द आंसर टू प्रोग्रेसिंग फॉर योर करियर।
Mr. Meraj, I think you want to add something. I have a question also for you after that. तो आप एक बार बोलने के बाद से I will.
Okay, वो हज्जाम से लेके प्रधानमंत्री तक सब आ गए कॉन्वर्सेशन में। लेकिन I very respectfully disagree. I think you are confused moonlighting with part-time. Okay, when your school bus driver is doing Uber and both the driving thing, that is part-time and not moonlighting. Okay, that's a very clear difference between moonlighting and part-time. Part-time is something else altogether and moonlighting is something else altogether. The only reason, okay, and another thing, very important aspect, regardless of what you do, yes, moonlighting, no moonlighting, whatever it is, please do what you feel like doing, whatever fits your, whatever fills your bucket, right? Whatever satisfies your sense of purpose, whatever satisfies your objective, regardless of what Meraj, Rahul, Munawar or Kaleem sahab, has to say, it has to make sense to you. Eventually, you are the driver of your life, right? It has to make sense to you. So, one super important thing, and I very strongly would continue to stick to moonlighting, because of the fact that, okay, I have been a student entrepreneur, and the only reason I started India's first coding bootcamp in 2013. I sold it in 2019. I still continue to run it. Next year we'll be celebrating 10 years of it, right? The only reason I was able to start that coding bootcamp is because I was working on something and I identified a problem statement which made us India's first and the largest coding bootcamp to exist. Now, had I been against the idea of, nay, I am doing this and I cannot be doing anything else, I don't think I would have landed onto my next idea. So the idea here is, the point here, whatever you are going to do next has to take care of your primary responsibility, and you should be able to give that away. You should be able to cut that off sooner or later and give yourself that time. How I do it is I divide my day into 3 quarters. Right? We have 24 hours, 8 times 3, right? 8 hours is what you have to do, without which you cannot survive, something that pays your bills. The second 8 is something that you're going to do for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. That will allow you to retire early and continue to pursue your passions because your bills are being taken care of, right? And then you can work for PSF, you can work for anything, right? And you should be able to do that out of your will. You should be able to do that because you enjoy doing it and not because you have to pay bills. I run a coding bootcamp now, I run an incubation center now. I'm doing a couple of things, right? And the only reason that is happening is because, alhamdulillah, I don't have to worry about paying my bills. It's been taken care of. And the only reason that happened is because I probably took the pain to experiment with something else, right? And I'm not saying it always works out. There are 100 more experiments that I failed in, right? This one worked out, but there are 100 more that did not work out. But I would have never known that it would have worked out if I had not tried, right? And you are never, nobody is going to allow you to try it. And mind you, it's got nothing to do with your integrity. You have to think about yourself. You have to figure out what you want to do. You have to figure out what you want to be known for. Nobody is going to remember you because, you know, you are a senior product manager at so-and-so company, right? People are going to remember you for what you did for people. People are going to remember you for the kindness that you have showed in the times of need. And when can you do that? You can only do that when you are self-sufficient. You can only do that when you have figured it out for yourself, when you're kind enough for yourself to and crazy enough to believe that, you know, yeah, you're much more than that. या नहीं तो फिर 9 to 5 से आप खुश हैं. You want to retire at 60? No harm, nothing wrong with that as well, right? Not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody needs to do multiple things. Not everybody has to be a billionaire or a millionaire, and not everybody can't be. Let's be, you know, very clear about that. So you have to figure things out that work for you. If you're ambitious, do not let anybody tell you what you need to do. Do it and figure out a way to do justice with everything that you pick up for yourself.
So if you have questions, please raise your hand. The volunteers will find you. So there's one question that is still unanswered. What the gentleman was asking, I believe, was in India.
नहीं, देखो इन इंडिया की जब बात आती है ना, फिर अगेन वो एप्पल से कंपेयर करना है. देखो भैया, अमेरिका में जो है ना, ठीक है, वहां पे जॉब और उनका काम ही उनकी जिंदगी है. हमारे यहाँ चाचा के लड़की की शादी में भी जाना है, फिर उसके बाद जो है ना पड़ोसी का ख्याल भी करना है, फिर उसके बाद पीएसएफ में भी थोड़ा टाइम देना भूलना नहीं है, ठीक है. तो ये सारी चीजें हमारे यहाँ ज्यादा है.
नहीं, बट कलीम साहब, the thing is, जिस तरीके से इन्फ्लेशन इंडिया में इस वक्त राइज हो रहा है पिछले लास्ट 8-10 साल से, अगर आप ऐसा स्टडीज देखें, व्हेन आई वाज डूइंग रिसर्च, आई फाउंड आउट, एनडीटीवी की एक स्टडी थी कि पिछले 10 साल में जो फ्रेशर जॉब्स जो रहते हैं, जो सैलरीज हैव इंक्रीज्ड ओनली बाय 10% in the last 10 years. So people are not earning that much money anymore. The reason people are moonlighting,
I'll give some context to it. That is only for the mid and lower level entries, right?
Yeah,
not the CXOs. CXO salaries grew by 400%.
They don't need to moonlight at all.
Exactly my point, right? Exactly my point. So
that's what. So we're talking about the general classes, the general masses. So यहाँ पर है, so the requirement जो moonlighting कर रहे हैं, अगर ये लोग 9 से 12 काम कर रहे हैं, it's not because उनको मजा आ रहा है. They're doing it because they want to earn that extra money.
वही अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वो एक दिन इलेक्शन वाला दिन सोगे तो फिर पूरा 5 साल काम करना पड़ेगा आपको.
सोने की बात कर रहे हैं आप?
इलेक्शन वाले दिन सोए हम लोग, तो फिर पूरा दिन साल काम करना पड़ेगा, फिर इन्फ्लेशन भी बढ़ेगा, फिर और बहुत सारी चीजें बढ़ेगी। तो मोरल ऑफ द स्टोरी ये है कि आप जो है ना ऐसी चीज देखो जिसमें आपकी उन्नति हो, आपकी प्रगति हो, आप आगे बढ़ सकते हो। 4 चीजों में जाके आप और बर्नआउट हो जाओगे, समझ रहे ना, फिर उसके बाद और परेशान हो जाओगे। जैसा अभी मेरा साहब ने कहा कि उन्होंने कई सारी चीजें ट्राई की, एक चल गया, और कई सारे लोग ऐसे हैं कई सारे ट्राई करने में वो चले जाते हैं। ठीक है, तो ये बात का ध्यान रखना है। और उन्होंने एक बात और अच्छी कही कि ये सबके बस की बात नहीं है। ठीक है, तो आम जनता, आप हमारे जैसे लोग क्या है 9 से 5 करो, उसके बाद जो है ना फिर घर को आ जाओ। हाँ, जिनके पास अगर उतनी हिम्मत है वो टर्बुलेंस बर्दाश्त कर सकते हैं, मेंटली, फिजिकली, इमोशनली, फाइनेंशियली, स्पिरिचुअली, सोशली, तो फिर वो करने की चक्कर में। अब उस बाजू वाला कर रहा है, उसको देखकर अगर मैं भी करूंगा तो फिर मैं जो है ना यहां से चला जाऊंगा।
We'll take a question from the audience now.
Hi everyone, my name is Haider, and my question to the panel is, keeping in view of the last, as you rightly said, the pandemic and the kind of inflation and unemployment, especially to the middle class and the BPL sectors. These are the people who got very much affected with all those factors. So from my perspective, like, I would still see moonlighting is necessary, though as your point is also valid that people have to look after the health and other perspective he can able to manage. So the overall tendency is
स्लीपिंग पैटर्न इंश्योरेंस कवर नहीं करता, सुन लिए थे ना
जी हाँ।
एक टेस्ट कितना होता।
I agree, but the
बस
reason
अब
why
एग्री है
I'm
तो बैठ
saying
जाइए
is,
साहब।
my reason,
आप
my
एग्री
point
है
is,
तो फिर बोलने की
नहीं तो कलीम साहब अगेन वो बात घूम फिर के वहीं आ रही है, and I think I would like Mr. Munawar to answer this question कि the necessity of moonlighting is not because of anything but
Exactly.
the desire, the requirement
Yeah.
rather to make more money. So then how in, because आप you
सर,
yourself
how
are
equally
corporate-
to
एक
balance
मिनट सर,
it.
कलीम सर एक मिनट सर,
नहीं आई डिसएग्री। जो चीज से मैं डिसएग्री होता हूं उसको आगे, रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, रनिंग फॉर लग्जरीज है।
not for luxury.
No,
not at all for the luxury. I disagree.
रिक्वायरमेंट में आप छोटे घर में रह सकते, छोटी गाड़ी में रह जा सकते।
कलीम सर
अगर
बहुत बहुत मोहब्बत कम है आज आप ये बातों से
नहीं, आप
मोहब्बत दूर कर दे रहे हैं ऑडियंस का रुख समझिए।
Munawar sir, you go first. I'll go later.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is really a debate kind of thing, and definitely there will be no closer remark on that. Let's have that debate, whether it's a requirement or whether it's your urge to do something, or there is some higher level objectives. There could be. So let it be a debatable topic, no issue. But I will put my view to that thing. So generally it's believed that moonlighting is associated with a very good performer or the high profile people or the people who are working in a value creation kind of industry, because they can make their parallel arrangement to extend the same value. So when the requirement comes, it's depend upon your objective. It's related here, the vibe is coming that it's related to income, right? And if we are taking income to the wealth creation, so when we ask to the rich people, what is the secret formula or secret sauce for the wealth creation, they will say, forget about the money, create the value first. Behind the value, you be behind the value. So here, why not to speak, why not to take charge of higher values over here? Of course, here I am believing that the people who are doing moonlight, they are well-to-do, at least the bottom pyramid of the Maslow's hierarchy, right? So why not to bypass this hierarchy and work for the higher kind of objective? So once you are in a play of wealth creation through value, then I think that's better than moonlight. But again, it's a debatable. For you, it might be moonlight. But at the end, we need to take care that it should be very straightforward. We should be very honest.
अभी मुझे थोड़ा मूनलाइटिंग करना पड़ेगा, देखो कंसंट्रेशन चलेगा। मैं एमसी भी हूँ भाई, 3:30 बज गए, जरा इसको कट शॉर्ट करना पड़ेगा थोड़ा सा। मून लाइटिंग का इफेक्ट देखो अभी कंसंट्रेशन पे आ गया आमिर साहब
No, no, Rahul sir wanted to.
Okay, I'll just add to that perspective here. When it comes to ambition and confusing it to money, let me tell you, like I mentioned to you, I've had parallel streams and parallel work, and the way I've been working doesn't mean that I'm inspired or I'm driven by money. I'm driven by value, the impact that I make. And despite आज की तारीख में अगर मैं काम करना छोड़ दूं और बैठ भी जाऊं तो अगले 100 साल निकल जाएंगे, जरूरत ही नहीं है काम करने की. But the value addition, the impact that we have, every individual, the driving force is different. So the question I want each one of you all to think for yourself, why do you want? And more importantly, then upskill yourself to learn how can you do it. The challenge of burnout, the challenge of performance falling down is all because we want to do. We are ambitious, but we are not skilled enough to deliver on that. So focus on that element where you can upskill yourself, and that's where the value also will come in. So once that changes, I think I agree with Meraj's point that people are ambitious. They have solutions. They have a drive for passion. Today I'm a life coach, and when I'm talk to people about how can they pursue their passion, not what is giving the money, but their passion. And one very interesting way or the format that has exponentially increased is during the COVID times. I've seen people who are passionate musicians, लेकिन कहीं बजाने का पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है. Today they are teaching online. I won't call it exclusively moonlighting, but the idea is you can take this parallel path to build your passion. Not everybody is comfortable, not everybody has the provision to go and quit your job and build your passion. The idea is, why not use this alternate or a parallel mode to explore yourself? और अक्सर ये चीज भी होती है, मेरे को फैशन डिजाइनिंग पसंद है, बाहर की दुनिया से देखना अलग चीज है, जब घुस के करना चालू करता हूं तब समझ में आता है यार ये तो फैशन डिजाइनिंग है ही नहीं, मैंने सोचा कुछ और ही था. So that's where the path to passion or pursuing whatever your calling is, whatever your passion is through test and experiment. And that will come, like Meraj said, it will come through putting yourself through the process, have a fling, have an affair with what you are passionate, to know whether that is your passion or not. And as you progress, once it becomes confirmed, once you are feeling it, once you get the right sense, you jump into it. That's the reason hybrid entrepreneurship, again, is not the long-term answer. Job karte hi business nahi chalega. Single focus at one point in time, larger part will be the job and this will be smaller, but eventual target is single focus. No performance or nobody can become successful by having their hands tied to 10 different things. Eventually find what you're passionate about and engage in that. And the money, if you're passionate, will follow through in the way you pursue and add value, solving the problems or having a problem statement which you're engaging in. Money will follow. आप उसके बाद PSF के थ्रू आपका पैशन एंगेज करना चाह रहे हो या फिर बिजनेस करना चाह रहे हो, पैसा कमाना चाह रहे हो, you want fame, whatever format, whatever excites you. That is your personal decision on how you want to pursue it and what you feel success is. आज की तारीख में दुनिया में प्रॉब्लम, last one statement and I'll leave it there. People are called successful. The question is, do they feel successful? That is the big difference.
I think there was a question there. If someone can...
Excuse me.
We can find, okay, there's already a question there.
So
Okay.
my question is to Munawar. We have a moonlighting here and then hybrid entrepreneurship. Let's say if someone is working for as a visiting faculty for a university or is working as an NGO as a coach. So where does it fall? Is it not in these two categories? And how do you think the corporate responds to this type of activities?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think you catch me, basically. So definitely the moonlighting is like he has given example. Company is believing you, okay, in your abilities, and they are paying for your time, and you are trading your time. So definitely, if you are taking it out, then you are not justifying that time. But everything goes well, and there is no conflict in interest. There is nothing such as like which can be treated as a confidentiality or those all clause. Then with the permission, I think you are doing a great job because you are trading the time for some other purpose, maybe passion, maybe something else. But the transparency should be there. So there is no shortcut to that. Clause means clause. If you have the contract means contract, so there's a nothing. Unless we are creating those vibes, but unless it let the dust settle. But by the time we need to figure out our own ways. So now I would suggest, if there is a way out from your organization, then you go for that. If there's no conflict of interest or there's no confidentiality clause and all those things. So it may not be the moonlight. It's your working extra. So that's my view, and I did, and my organization is happy for that.
We had another question here. The gentleman.
Hello. Yeah, this is Amir. मेरा question, as you all said that moonlighting के बारे में यहाँ बातें हो रही हैं और जॉब से रिलेटेड ही बातें हो रही हैं, कैरियर कैसे बनाना है, बट बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो फाइनेंशियली फ्रीडम में भी बिलीव करते हैं और फाइनेंशियली फ्रीडम को अचीव करने के लिए आपका एक गोल सेट होता है कि हमको इतने टाइम में 8 साल 10 साल में इतना काम करके इतना अर्न करके और बाद में पीएसएफ के लिए या किसी भी अपने जो पर्सनल चीजों के लिए काम करना है. तो अगर मैं फाइनेंशियली फ्रीडम के लिए काम कर रहा हूं तो फिर तो मुझे पार्ट टाइम या फिर कोई भी साइड इनकम तो ढूंढना होगा ना. तो वहां फिर ये गलत कैसे है? मैं एक्स्ट्रा काम क्यों ना करूं क्योंकि मुझे 8 साल बाद पूरी लाइफ जीनी है. तो इस कॉन्सेप्ट को आप लोग यहाँ मैंने देखा किसी ने हाईलाइट नहीं किया कि हम 8 साल काम करके 40 साल सुकून से जी सकते हैं. दैट इज माई क्वेश्चन.
That's exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was stressing about. I was focusing on the quality of life, right? You living a few life, working really hard on trying to figure out something, what your heart wants to do, what your soul, likes to do, loves to do, so that you don't have to continue doing that for the rest of your life, right? To pay bills. You do that because it gives you happiness. You do that because aapko usse sukoon mil raha, right? You don't do that because the minute you stop working, you don't know how you're going to pay your bills. And that's the whole idea. In fact, that's exactly the reason behind choosing, or finding or building a career about things that you're passionate about, right? Because you don't feel like working when you're working on things that you're absolutely passionate about, right? It's not work to you, right? You do that because it makes you happy. Yeah, if it's paying you, bonus. And more likely, it pays you. Because when you put your heart to something that when you put your brain to something that your heart wants, most likely you are going to be successful at it, right? But if your primary objective is to make money, then there's somebody else who's going to do better, who's going to be better than you doing that, who will get paid more, right? Do not make it transactional. And I don't remember who said that, but again, entrepreneurship is more about wealth creation through value, right? But if you are talking about income and generating pension for you for the rest of the life, that's okay too. It's not wrong, right? Whatever sails your boat.
भाई एक सेकंड में बात बोल के खत्म करता हूँ क्योंकि हमारे पास टाइम भी रनिंग है. एमसी मूनलाइटिंग परेशानी टेंशन है, टाइम भी जा रहा है उधर. 8 साल बाद जियोगे इस बात की गारंटी लिख के दोगे? 8 साल बाद फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम होगा, जीने लायक होगे भी, इस बात की गारंटी है? नहीं है. तो सुनो मेरा भाई, मैं क्या कह रहा हूं, ठीक है, यू मे डेफिनेटली डिफर विद माय आइडिया. हर दिन ऐसे जियो कि आज तुम फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम हो, ताकि ये ना हो कि 8 साल बाद जब तुम जियो तुम्हारी माँ, तुम्हारा बाप, तुम्हारा भाई, तुम्हारा बहन तुम्हारे से बिछड़ जाए, तुम्हारे पास पैसे हो और फिर ये लोग साथ ना हो, तुम्हारे पास जो है ना पत्नी और बच्चे साथ ना हो. क्यों? क्योंकि इतना काम में उलझ जाओगे कि ये लोग का साथ छूट जाएगा, प्लस हेल्थ इश्यूज हो जाएंगे. तो इन शॉर्ट फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम का कोई सेट टाइम नहीं है. आज छोटी गाड़ी में फिर रहे हो, कल बड़ी गाड़ी चाहिए, उससे बड़ी गाड़ी चाहिए, उससे बड़ा घर चाहिए. तो देयर इज नो सेट लिमिट फॉर द फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम. ऐसे जियो कि हर दिन फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम में है और काम ऐसे करो कि मुझे ये टारगेट अचीव करना है, उस पे फोकस करो. जैसा राहुल भाई ने कहा कि जो कुछ भी काम आप कर रहे हो पूरी इंटीग्रिटी से करो, ऑनेस्टी से करो, उस पे एक्सेल होने का काम करो. यू विल डेफिनेटली गेट फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम अलोंग विथ along with your relationship, with your wife, kids, everyone. ठीक है, आपके साथ आपकी हेल्थ भी रहेगी, आपका सोशल फैक्टर भी रहेगा, आपको पीस भी रहेगा. थैंक यू.
Rahul, before you, I want to roll this question again because I think the same question is coming again and again. For a minute, let us take out our privileged garbs. क्योंकि हम लोग सब तो privileged एक society में आके बैठे हैं. We are talking about general people here. जो सवाल जो आ रहा है again and again, the question again is कि why is it that I cannot work to make extra money? Either company पैसे बढ़ कर दे, ठीक है, अगर कंपनी का परफॉर्मेंस अगर परफॉर्मेंस इफेक्ट हो रहा है then the company should do their performance reviews probably every month or every week, or else the company should give you extra money, or your firing rate should go down. The question is about job security. The question is about making extra money on my time. So I would want you to वो जो क्वेश्चन मेरे ख्याल से दो तीन लोग जो सवाल करे वही सवाल आ रहा है कि भाई why cannot I work on my time? That is the biggest question that's coming. Hyper entrepreneurship अपनी जगह correct है. Building value, that's अपनी जगह correct है. But that is not the question I feel. I feel the question is why can't I do what I want? Why can't I work an extra job and make more money?
नहीं करने से मैं भी नहीं रोक रहा.
नहीं,
but मैं सिर्फ एक ही बात बोल रहा हूँ. What are you losing? You find that.
No, but that is irrelevant.
Okay. While I'm not in the corporate world to comment on this, I would talk of it in the world that we are in. With regard to, we are a jewelry shop and we have a lot of staff who work in the deliveries or customer engagements. So we actually have seen this when there's a situation where people have a crunch. We have our staff people working as Swiggy delivery boys once the time is over. But again, there I tell them it's you're trading for time. You're not adding value, you're not scaling up yourself. So here, when you're talking about the performance and different elements that we have been discussing, the entire idea should be how are you making it work for you, the skill in which you're managing. The problem about performance is because lack of skill. Especially for people who are asking this question, if you are around 20, 21, this is the time for you. Play by your time when time is by your side. The question is, you cannot be having this kind of, because we have had topics of burnout, we have had other topics also, which are relevant. Today, I'll tell you my classic example. I've run this initiative called as a Speak Up Club for the last 125 Saturday nights. It began during the COVID time. Every Saturday night, we used to have one session as a part of life skill development. Free sessions, open for all. I did it on a trot for 125 Saturday nights. And there came a situation where the burnout happened. Where the situation happened, the last session that we took was in November last month, and I announced that it is going far beyond, and the cost which I'm paying for doing this is far higher. I lost my Saturday nights because this session was Saturday. No friends are available now. The health backfiring. There are different times of stress which come up. So I took a break, literally 1 month break. I said, we are not doing it. The idea is you need to be wary of how you are operating. For everyone, people often say, wake up at 5 o'clock. नहीं भाई, सबसे नहीं होता. अगर वैसा है तो रात को 10 बजे तक 12 बजे तक काम करना सीखो. My style, I've never woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I never sleep before 1 o'clock. That's because I engage myself in value, adding value. What's important is what works for you. You need to be aware of yourself first and see, even if you're working two things, are you just adding value or are you trading time only? Is it impacting on you? My cost is, for the last, again, like I told you, 125 Saturday nights, my child waits for a Friday night rather than a Sunday or Saturday because Friday uska school ho jata hai, Friday sham ko papa free hai. The cost which I'm paying is what I need to be wary of, and that's where the realization comes. Many a times, unless we burn our hands, we don't realize. I realized it later, but the only thing that we need to learn is I'm still in for stretching ourselves, doing extra, while being sure of what is the cost that you're paying.
So I think that the general idea on the board is that you add value. I mean, paisa is a short-term goal which you can do, but then that is not going to help you in the long run. So adding value is more important right now. Any more questions from the audience? If someone wants to ask a question, we have a question right there.
Hi. I think the undercurrent in the audience is, why should I not be allowed to trade time? I think the point is, I know everybody's talking about what is good for me. The question is, I will take care of what is good for me. Why am I not allowed to do what I should be? I can do. I want to do something. Why am I not allowed?
Okay, allowed part is, like I told you, except for the contractual, nobody's stopping you. Now the point which you mentioned, why should I not trade time? is because time is perishable. At 20, your 4 hours work will be different. At 40, you investing or trying to invest 4 hours because you'll be trading time only. The value that you'll be getting, the return that you'll be getting by your 40 for the same 4 hours will be much, much lesser than what you'll be getting, unless there's a skill set upgradation.
So I'll give you a real life example to it, okay? I run an incubation center for students, right? Non-academic, we are India's largest non-academic startup incubator for students, okay? I've been doing this for the past 2.5 years. And now there's a very large, I will not name the firm, a big 4 firm that has contracted me to give my couple of hours a day to consult with them to help them set up a incubation center, okay? What am I get paid for? Time, okay? Now, not necessarily I have to be there to do that, right? There are a set of deliverables, I take care of that, and I get paid for it. That's it. So you have to understand what's the value of your time and how much of your time is worth today and tomorrow and day after tomorrow and next year, okay? If you continue to do whatever you're doing today, please make sure the value of your time, right? Dollars per hour is going up. If you're not doing that, then you will continue to do whatever you're doing for the rest of your life without any change. And that's where burnout comes and happens, right? The biggest motivation comes from progress. Biggest motivation comes from the results. You do something, you see it's working out, you do more. There's no burnout there. Burnout only happens when you're doing, but you don't see results. थक के खत्म हो जाते हैं आप वहाँ पर. Right? That's where burnouts happen, when you don't enjoy, when you know it's not giving you back what you are giving it to your work, right? It should give you back. So for that to happen, you have to first identify what you want to do, where your heart lies. And that only comes through experimentation, right? It starts from gut. There has to be a lot of trial and error, there has to be a lot of experimentations, you have to figure it out, and you cannot be doing it for money. You cannot be doing it for money.
So more or less, I think both, I mean, all the panelists are of the same idea. I mean, मेरे को समझ में आ रहा है कि यहाँ पर audience में the question is, क्योंकि money is everything today's world, and because paisa is what all of us are thinking. But I think what Munawar Saab, Meraj Saab, Rahul Saab and Kaleem Saab are trying to convey is कि भाई ठीक है आज पैसे बना लोगे मगर कल क्या होगा. So what they are stressing on the fact is कि you should give value to your time more than attaching money to it. I think there's another question that is coming from there. वहाँ पीछे भी there's some more questions.
Yeah, thanks for the session. I just want, I just agree with what Mr. Kaleem is saying. I just want to add one more thing. Like usually what happens is in MNCs, we work for a client and we fill the timesheet as 9 hours for them. And at the same time, what happens is, I think most of the IT professionals knows this, okay? We work for a client and we fill our timesheet and we are billable by them. But at the same time, our company, it says that apart from this, you have to do something else. Like you have to work on some RFPs or some bidding thing or taking some interviews. So when I work outside, they say me not to do moonlighting. But at the same time, my company, they are saying my client so my company is saying that I'll be working for 9 hours for my client. And at the same time, they are like taking me to work more than 9 hours. They are making me to moonlight by my company itself. So is this fair? So you got the question right. I'm working for a client 9 hours, and apart from this, my company, they are asking me to give me more hours to work on something else apart from my client.
That's overtime. That's yeah. The idea is there's something called as a part of this moonlighting culture. There's something called as quiet quitting, which is basically doing your job only to the extent of what the job description says. Let me tell you, for the people who have progressed, again, diverging from the hybrid entrepreneurship and all those things, for the people who have progressed in their corporate world, in their corporate careers, is all by going one notch ahead of what their job description says. The entire thing, if in the process of doing moonlighting or getting that extra buck, we are actually not working on the primary source of income that we have. by not delivering value, okay, the overtime and all those things, there's something called as ethical moonlighting also, wherein companies have started to, there's a push towards the companies to start acknowledging or giving opportunities to people inside the companies and pay them for their talent and their extra work that they'll be doing. Overtime, sab to hai. So there, if you're having something parallel where you have a skill about training or something, where you're adding value to the company, there is a drive also. I can't decide that for corporates, but there's a drive where there's a, to cut off this idea that you going outside and adding value somewhere in training, why not do it in my company? Why not do it for our staff? So where this idea is also building up, let's see how it progresses. That's a big question. And how much are the actual corporate situations or corporate companies going to be only referred to as bloodsuckers and not the value that they're giving to people. When you say the bigger problem in India today is not unemployment, it's underemployment of what you're working for and how much you're paid for it. And the stretch which happens is over and above that. So the idea of corporates is there where you also have to focus, if you're working on moonlighting, do not forget you're moonlighting because the primary job is giving you something. Do not forget this, and if you work and grow over there, this thing will develop, this thing will happen, but not at the cost of the first thing. Companies and the moonlighting entire crisis or the controversy is because that is happening at the cost of this. I'm not sure if it's factual, but there was one person who was working 7 jobs at the same time. 7 jobs at the same time on the payrolls of 7 jobs. I'm not sure whether it's verified or not, but that is how this has happened as a result of work from home, this entire culture building up. So focus on what you're doing. I'm not asking you to get into entrepreneurship. I'm not asking you to do moonlighting. But remember, everything is discussing this because we have a job in place and we cannot put that at stake for doing something else.
So I think it's a good discussion. I mean, if you go on taking questions, if you go on discussing this, I think this can go for another couple of hours. But I think primarily what I took away from this, the conclusion would be कि अगर आप लोग extra पैसे कमाना चाहते हो, if you want to make some extra money for a short-term basis के लिए moonlighting is fine. But I think all across the panel, the one thing that I've continuously heard is that you, instead of investing that time to make more money, invest that time to build value for yourself, so that आज से साल 2 साल के बाद से you can get better jobs, you can get better payments, your holding in the company is much stronger. I think that is the broader idea. So I thank all of you for being here. We wish we had more time. I'm sure the audience was enjoying this to and fro. But maybe in Profit Summit 2023 we'll be able to do it. Right, thank you so much everyone. Yeah, of course. Of course, of course, of course. Huge round of applause for Mr. Kaleem. And would like to give this microphone back to you so that you can.
We'll take a brief one. Yeah.